Welcome, everyone. Good morning. This is a session on healing and growing. And before I begin the session, I want to throw a warning that some of the things that I'm going to say may be disturbing for some of you. So I'm going to begin with a story of a woman. And she was married, she had all these dreams. And in the very first year, she was traumatized and assaulted by her husband. And one day, because everyone had told her that you can call the cops. So as the husband was drunk, he started assaulting her. She had a 3-month-old baby at the time. And so she called the cop came, and maybe it was fear or maybe it was something else. But when the cop came, she decided that she does not want to take any action. And the cop asked her one more time, "Are you sure?" And she said, "Yeah, I can handle it." And the cop asked, looking at the state of intoxication of her husband, he asked her, "Do you want to go to a place where you are safe? Because we don't know what he's going to do." And she was resisting that again, and she said, "No, I can handle it." So one final time when the cop was about to walk out, he said, "Hey, listen, in my many years of service, I have yet to see a house where I have come once for a domestic dispute and I haven't gone back. So think about what you're doing. Think about your future. You have a baby in your hand." So the night went on. She slept with her baby in one room while the husband slept in the other. In the morning, she woke up to a loud bang on the door. She managed to grab her baby from the crib, and by that time, the husband was able to punch a hole in the door. He opened the door, grabbed her by her hair. With the baby in her hand, he started hitting her head against the two walls of the narrow corridor of their house. And as he continued doing that, she realized she can't see from her left eye. So she started screaming, "I can't see. I can't see." She's screaming. She was crying, but that didn't matter. So her husband then finally pushed her in the front porch, a concrete porch, with her face down and the baby pinned under her body. She just managed to protect her and shield her baby using her hands and her arms. Thankfully, the baby was safe. He was not hurt, but she was hurt badly. Every part of her body was either bruised or there was blood on the body. But a couple of days later, she went to see her doctor. Her doctor. She covered her body completely so she couldn't see. But all she wanted to know was, why couldn't she see for that 20 minutes, that temporary vision loss that she had, because she felt she really needs to see to take care of her baby. And the doctor asked her what happened, and she cooked up a story, and the story was, "I fell off hiking." There was a sense of disbelief in that doctor's eye, but she stuck to her story. That was a retinal bruise, and that's what she said, that she fell off hiking. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jagveer, and that woman's story is my story. And I do want to mention that I am a survivor of intimate partner violence, which is abuse or aggression directed towards anyone who is in a romantic relationship. I know many of you are experts here, and many of you have already seen this, but the more we talk about this, the less it is. Intimate partner violence, it is still prevalent everywhere in the world, and it affects about 25% of women in the United States. It affects about 15% of men also in the United States. And when we talk about numbers, there are about 330 million people living in the United States. That 25% and 15% is a huge number, which tells us that this problem is prevalent. This problem still exists today. And I know that you may have heard this numerous times. There's a lot of awareness on this topic. And again, like I said, the more we talk, the less it is. So we're going to talk about the health outcomes of IPV. The first one being poor physical health. And this is where that pain is unbearable. This can range from bruises to fractures to something that I experienced, which was a retinal bruise where I couldn't see. And when everything becomes too much, some of us, thankfully not me, but some of us want to engage in these poor behaviors. And that could be substance abuse, alcohol abuse, anything of that sort. But you really want to get away. Anything, you do anything that will make you forget the pain that you're going through. The next one is low self-esteem. Maybe I'm not worthy. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe this is what I deserve. All those things will lead to low self-esteem. And this can have a ripple effect. You may lose your job because you're not performing well. And there are many others that we see based on what the research states. Then there's myriad of mental health problems, depression and anxiety being very, very common. Something that I experienced with my anxiety. I would get up every morning puking every single morning with backache and upper body ache. I just couldn't figure out what was happening. I did see my doctor for this. She did tell me it was anxiety. And all I asked for from her was, hey, give me something where I can just sleep. I just need a good night sleep. Many of the survivors, they suffer with post-traumatic stress disorder. As we have seen that many doctors, therapists, social workers, organizations that you may be a part of, we are all working very, very hard to raise that awareness that IPV still persists. IPV is bad. It's not just bad for the victims and the survivors, it has a cost. And the cost is that to the society, there's a cost to the community, and there's a bigger cost that we often forget to see. And that cost is the cost of silent witnesses. What the children are seeing, the children who are in that kind of relationship, part of that relationship. And for me, I thought my kids were too little to understand. I would send them in their room and I'd be like, they're playing, nothing is happening, they're shielded, they're fine. It wasn't until years later I found out. And when I found out, that's when my heart broke. When my children said that, Mama, when all that used to happen, we used to be in a room. We used to hide in the closet. We used to cry. We used to pray. And I had no idea that my kids knew even how to pray. But today, however, we are not going to talk about the negative effects of IPV. We have seen it, we have heard it, and I just wanted to mention it. Today, I am here because we're going to talk about healing. What got me here, where I am today in front of all of you? The question is, given that this trauma exists, it can change the lives of victims, it can change the lives of people who are tired with the victims. But is there a possibility when the victim, they shift from this survival mode to living a life of their dreams? Is it possible for the victims to kind of move away from being controlled to being in control? And I'm going to give you an answer, and you can probably find that answer by just looking at me, that healing is possible, as evidence suggests, that there is an element of transformation in the healing process of IPV survivors. In this session today, we're going to talk about the resilience and persistence, the stunning capacity of resilience and persistence displayed by many IPV survivors. We're going to talk about post-traumatic growth, which is a positive transformation after adversity. And I do want to mention that it is really critically important to remember that trauma shakes up the world for everybody. No one, absolutely no one, deserves to be abused. But the truth is that it is happening. However, we want to move away from this negative experiences. What can we do to help these survivors move forward? Is it going to be easy? It is going to be challenging. Just walking out of an abusive relationship is a complex process. It's going to be challenging, but I will tell you that it is possible. Is it going to be immediate? Is it going to be a magical thing where all of a sudden you're growing and you're healing? No, it is going to be a gradual process. It's going to go through stages of change. It's going to go through this: should I do this? Should I go back? Survivors, they deal with a lot of questions, and there are survivors who tend to go back to where they started. It is not going to be easy, but it is going to be possible, slowly and steadily. Is post-traumatic growth a given? It is not a given. It takes a lot from the victims and the survivors. And we are not going to gloss over this tough road of recovery because it doesn't seem victorious to people who are on it. But I want to tell all the victims and all the survivors that you have what it takes. You can do it. It may need a little bit of help, and that is why people like us are here, holding your hand, telling you what to do, because that's what I experienced. About some of the ways to get there, we're going to talk about some of the ways that are proven by research. We're going to talk about the 5 domains of post-traumatic growth seen in IPV survivors. I'm going to walk through all 5 domains, and then I'm going to give you my example as we go forward. The first one is personal strength. And let me tell you, a lot of survivors, they don't think this, but the moment you decided to walk out of that abusive relationship, you have grown already. That is the first step to growth. When you move out of an abusive relationship, there is a fear of unknown. You don't know what's happening. You don't know how tough that road is going to be for you. You don't know what you're going to face, but yet you have moved on. You have taken that leap of faith. You have grown. So it's time that we realize that, and it's time that we recognize that. You are much stronger than you thought you were. It is time to remember that. It is time to recognize what you're worth, what you're capable of. Once you develop this feeling, once you say it out loud, I can, you can, because you've already proven that, you just didn't realize it. So let's cultivate that feeling of I can, because doing so will make you feel that you're self-reliant. You don't need to depend on anybody. And once you feel that confidence, you also develop self-compassion. Self-compassion will take you places. That is how you will heal. That is how you will grow. It sometimes really takes a great step back to appreciate the things that you have. But once you develop that feeling of self-compassion, you start to think life as a whole. Life is bigger. You start to appreciate the life a lot more. Fragile at times, but your life is beautiful. You start to realize that. And that will change the philosophy of your life. When you start to count your blessings, you start to see the things that are around you. For me, that one thing wasn't working, and I was so blind that I didn't see all these things that exist around me. And you will see at the end of the presentation. You can conclude what are all the things that really helped me. But once you figure out that you have a lot of things that you should appreciate, you move further. You learn to not take small joys for granted. The smile of your children, the blabbering that you thought that they're just blabbering because you were too busy making it work, that blabbering turns into this beautiful conversation that you have with your children. You will actually hear them. And when you do that, when you appreciate the smile of your kids, the hugs from your friends, you appreciate as it comes. You get up every morning and you know what you are going to be doing during the day. What is it that you're contributing to the society? So say thank you. Be grateful. This is what even positive psychology says. Be grateful. That'll change the philosophy of life for you. Being grateful, and even it could be a small thing. Be grateful of the people around you, people who are there to support you. That takes us to the third domain, which is interpersonal relationships. Once again, research in positive psychology says that people who have a good support system, they are able to cope with the trauma. Good support system helps with trauma recovery. When you're going through tough times, you actually feel the need to express yourself. And when you express yourself, you'll be surprised how help comes to you. I'll give you an example. My weekends used to be really tough, and I couldn't go anywhere because I had kids to take care of. Many Mondays, I would get up and I wouldn't feel like working because I was so drained. So I sent an email to my boss, one liner in the subject, too stressed, can't work, end of message. And then the laptop is closed. And what I got from my boss was, hey, is there anything I can do? Can I reduce your workload? Is it work that is stressing you out? What can I do? Take a day off, take a week off, do whatever it takes. It wouldn't have happened if I had not asked. So ask for help. There are people who will help you. You will feel that you belong to a community. There are people who are there for you. They will stand by you. And this may also be, unfortunately, may also be a moment where you realize the discernment of true friends. You don't want to be friends with people who say they're there for you, but when you want them to pick your child up because you're busy at work and you're stuck in traffic and they tell you, sorry, I'm in my manicure appointment. You don't want friends like that. You want friends who will watch over you. My friend, she had sleepless nights, not because of her kids. She had sleepless nights because she wanted to make sure I was okay in the middle of the night. She would get up in the middle of the night. She would watch over my bedroom window to see, is my bedroom light on in the middle of the night? Why? She would text me. If I didn't text her back, she would come knocking at my door. Are you okay? You didn't reply to my text. Of course, I lied many, many times. So cherish these relationships, these people who are there to hug you. You have a shoulder to lean on. Cherish these relationships. And once you have this wisdom, once you gain the wisdom by just being in the company of those people, you get into, spiritually developing yourself. And I'm mentioning here, not from the religion perspective, I'm purely mentioning it from the fact that many survivors, they have one burning question. I had that. Why me? And the more I asked, the more I got frustrated because I was looking for answers from outside. But this is the time when you actually sit with yourself and you feel that you're not alone. There are lots of people who are suffering through the same. What can you do to live a life of your own? Do a self-reflection. Clear the doubts. When you actually sit, maybe you're sitting at a lake, maybe you're doing yoga, meditation, or even praying. That's what helps you clear the doubts. And when you're able to clear your doubts, you're able to readjust your spiritual beliefs. And that's the time when you actually come to a realization that why are you here? What is the purpose and the meaning of your life? And when I sat down and I questioned myself, what is the purpose of my life? I figured out The purpose of my life is to be a good mother. The purpose of my life is to make my children good human beings. The purpose of my life is to break that cycle of abuse. And I have. So accept the things as is. Don't fight it. If it was going to happen, it happened. But now that it happened, and now that you have moved on, what can you do? Look at that. Look at those possibilities. While we're talking about the possibilities, we're going to talk about the fifth domain, which is new possibilities. This is the time when you have the energy to spend on making your lives better. Look at new perspectives. Your priorities have changed. Somebody who was there draining you of your energy, where you were spending too much time thinking, I can make it work. Well, use that energy now so you can make something else work. Change things now. When you change things, you look at the new perspectives and new interests. Maybe you wanted to play music. Maybe you wanted to be a yoga teacher. Maybe you wanted to heal yourself. I only wanted to heal myself. I became a yoga teacher. And once I healed myself, I became a healer for thousands of others who have been in my classes in the last 5 years. So dream. New dreams will bring new possibilities. Understand that, realize that. I am talking about this and it seems it's easy, but I also mentioned that all of this is going to be happening in stages. And you're going to go through these obstacles, these blockers. And some of those are going to be, first one, feeling shame or guilt. I thought I could make it work. My marriage is a failure. What will people think of me? And I never imagined I would go through this. I never imagined I'd be the one who would endure all that. Don't let this weigh you down. There may be insecurities. How am I going to do this? I didn't sign up for this. I didn't want to be a mom, single mom. I didn't sign up for this. Am I going to be able to keep my job? Am I going to be able to keep a roof over my kid's head? Or things like law and system. The person who abused you may still get the custody of your children because he didn't abuse the children per se. He did, but he didn't. And you may have to give half of the money to that person. It's the law. You can't beat it. So go ahead and accept these things. Accept these things, but don't let trauma weigh you down. You will grow and you're going to heal. So now the introduction that I didn't finish, my introduction from before, I'm going to introduce myself in the conclusion. In the last 5 years that I have set myself free, I have beaten cancer not once, but twice. And even while I was going through cancer and I was going through divorce, I was able to get my yoga and meditation certification. I finished that, and like I said, I was able to heal myself and heal thousands others. In the last 2 years, I also finished a master's in psychology with Dean's List distinction from the Harvard Extension Studies. And as part of that, I was able to create a workshop for cancer survivors, and that workshop is also on healing and growth, hope, healing, and growth for cancer survivors. And I also dreamed, and actually, I got my motorcycle this year. And I actually literally handle it. And I was able to write a memoir, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to publish it. I wrote the memoir in 9 weeks. So you can imagine what was going on in my head. And I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. This is the sneak preview of the cover. I really hope to publish it. This is how I felt but I was able to break free. I want to tell all the survivors out there. I know many of you are experts and you work with survivors. Tell them they may have fought at times. They may have been broken at times. They may have been in a situation where they wanted to give it all up. But tell them you are a warrior, a survivor, and a winner. And this is a quote, my own quote, that I repeat over and over again. Endless possibilities exist if you hope and persevere. While we are at it, I want you to look at that flower. I want all the survivors, I want you to become that proud, beautiful flower blooming through the cracks, resilient, stubborn, and persistent to create a brighter future for yourself. And I really want to thank you all for giving me 30 minutes of your time. I wish and hope that you are blessed in every single way. I wish that you heal and you grow and you heal so much that one day you become a guiding light for others. Thank you.